Great, thank you. Uh, So there is or there will be a plaque out in the hallway here, right, Mike? It reads Paul R. Gugelman Town Hall in honor of distinguished service. This building is dedicated to Paul R. Gugelman, who faithfully served as town attorney from 1989 to 2025, which, side note, he was the only town attorney to serve in this town hall. In recognition of his unwavering dedication, steadfast integrity, and enduring contributions to the governance and legal stewardship of our town, his legacy of public service continues to guide and inspire. Dedicated this day, July 9th to 2025. So we'll head out and we'll let Ms. Gugelman pull the cover off to see the new sign.
How you doing? So happy not serving in this show?
You walking outside?
Saw you on Facebook.
You Miss Candy.
What's that? Saw you on Facebook. New restaurant. Oh, it's nice. It's expensive, but it's super nice.
Is it? What did you have?
We didn't eat.
We did, because we thought we had it so packed, so we just went down to check it out, and then we went down. Yeah.
It's really nice. Hopefully it does well.
Yeah, I hope so.
That would be kind of cool.
Freezing? Yeah, I didn't even think to eat dinner.
You didn't eat
The whole
dinner?
salad
Take your salad,
escapade for no reason.
bring it in here and eat your salad.
I was doing stuff and didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't eat dinner. I just gotta remember to close this all the way or
Oh, you can leave it.
leave it ajar. Okay, well.
I hate Florida at times. I hate Florida this time of year.
Oh.
July, August, September.
Yeah.
October, November, December.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
That's how you stay in shape then.
well,
All right, we'll officially get the meeting going with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Does council have any changes to the agenda? No changes, all right. Presentations, celebration of life, we just did that. Item number 3. All right, number 4, public comments, non-agenda items. Persons wishing to address town council on a matter not listed on the agenda may speak at this time. Speakers must provide their name and address, observe the 3-minute time limit, and speak only after being recognized by the mayor. Do we have any non-agenda items? All right. Public announcements. There are openings on the following boards and committees: Local Zoning and Planning, Board of Adjustment, Budget and Finance, Civil Service, and Code Enforcement. The Police Department's annual Cram the Car School Supply Drive will no longer be held in July. Instead, it will be in late fall. And the qualifying period for the 2025 election cycle starts August 7th, 2025 at noon and closes August 14th, 2025 at noon. Qualifying packets are available at Town Hall and online at indiaatlantic.com. Consent agenda, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes.
Mayor, can everyone just make sure their microphones are on? Okay, thank you.
All right, ordinance in public hearing. This is ordinance 2025-05, first reading public hearing relating to the comprehensive plan future land use map at 53 Tampa Avenue and 63 Tampa Avenue. And for, I guess, housekeeping, we'll also include item number 2, which is the same thing, but 1501 South Miramar, which all 3 properties are adjacent to each other in one block. So is there a motion from the council? And if there is, I ask that you do both properties at once.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025-05 and ordinance 2025-07.
Is there a second? Second. All right, we have property owner, Mr. Jacob Mosley here. I told him I'd give him a few minutes to speak. We have a presentation, whatever he's got, so go ahead. Go.
Test, okay. Jacob Mosley, 1501 South Miramar Avenue. My mother is the owner of the property. Unfortunately, the Godwins were unable to be here this evening due to some medical emergencies within their family. First off, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members, town staff, and fellow citizens here in person and those watching online. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of my mother's application for rezoning, a process by all reasonable expectations that should have concluded late last year. Instead, we have drawn out and delayed this process, and I stand before you with the hope that we can finally resolve and affirm it this evening. This application reflects not just the property request, but the impact of an evolving town, its shifting ordinances, policies, and the growing pains as it adapts to modern times. Allow me to provide some context. The original plat of these 3 parcels dates back to 1923. It was developed and takes shape in 1953 following the incorporation of the town of Indialantic. This property reflects the same development patterns seen north of Tuckaway Shores and has consistently functioned as a multifamily residence. In 1976, the parcels were formally divided into 3 segments, as evidenced by a recorded warranty deed I located in the county archives. Over the years, the town's zoning code, comprehensive plan, and ordinances were slowly constructed around this property. But with each new layer, they also eroded its original apparent land use rights until those rights became nearly unrecognizable. In 2004, the town passed an ordinance prohibiting vacation rentals in single-family zones. This final change opened the floodgates, transforming a historically compatible use into a non-conforming one. My mother purchased this property in June 2017, 8 years ago. She has been a full-time resident since then and homesteaded the property as her own primary residence. The property was previously used, and the unit that she resides in was previously an Airbnb, and in collaboration with town staff over time, added the enhancements of a deck in the front yard to enhance the curb appeal and livability of the property. The Sea Ranch, as it once was called, became Sunshine's Beach House. All was well until November 2023, when my mother received a cease and desist letter regarding vacation and transient rentals. Despite complying immediately, it became clear that even her limited temporary rights, grandfathered through decades of consistent use, were now being taken away. After discussion with the town manager, Michael Casey, we submitted a rezoning application on July 9, 2024. Mr. Casey consulted with Jim LaRue, our town's planner of 19 years and the architect of the comprehensive plan and zoning map, who advised that a small-scale amendment would be required to legally support and affirm the rezoning. That report was completed in late July or early August, but we heard nothing from town staff. In October, Councilman Miller spoke with my mother at the beach access and recommended the matter be scheduled for the October 16, 24 council meeting. At that meeting, town attorney Paul Gugelman, Mr. Miller, and other council members agreed that it would be acceptable for the neighboring parcel of Mr. Godwin's to be included to provide consistency with the town plan and zoning map. They offered on record to initiate a process of adding Mr. Godwin's property to the application via piggybacking and free of charge. Yet again, we heard nothing from the town. In February, we were shocked to read in the town's notice that my mother's parcel would be considered a loan. When we asked for clarification, staff informed us by email that the town could not honor the council's public commitment unless Mr. Godwin paid a $3,000 application fee and submitted a separate application. Despite this, my mother and Mr. Godwin agreed to move forward and submitted dual applications to run concurrently. By late April, we finally saw updated packets, both the original LaRue report and the staff recommendation from Margaret Embledge supporting approval of the rezoning. Then, on May 8th, hours before the scheduled meeting, we received a last-minute notice that the staff report had been reversed. Why? A phone call took place the previous day between Ms. Embledge, the town attorney, and Mr. Casey, after Ms. Embledge expressed, quote, awkward feelings about contradicting the LaRue report and modifying it. The result? The amended report appears to be hastily written and an unfavorable report that completely reversed course. The next evening, May 8th, the zoning and planning meeting was conducted with minimal transparency, almost no factual clarification, and what I can only describe as procedural and intentional obfuscation. No side-by-side comparisons of the two conflicting reports was provided, no technical reports, no technical review, just vague concerns and loaded generalities. I ask you plainly, is there no external pressures? Why was there such a rush in the last minute to rewrite said reports? Why does the new version contain shallow, speculative, and often misleading conclusions? Why was the expertise of Jim LaRue, an FAICP certified planner and the very author of the town's zoning infrastructure, sidelined and disregarded? Moving on. To briefly address a few public misconceptions. Yes, rezoning this dwelling will remove nonconformities from the town and allow the dwellings to exist or be repaired to their current state. No, there is no desire or request for any development or redevelopment behind this, and as such should not be concluded in the scope of the argument. No, there is not a 20-unit condominium complex being proposed, nor a complex of that size practical or feasible. Yes, the maximum theoretical capacity is 8 units, but that is based solely on acreage and does not account for significant limitations such as setbacks, variance, coastal construction lines, and erosion buffer zones. No, it is not feasible to create a bar, club, or lounge as illustrated by the amended report. Tourism zone properties in this area do not engage in those uses, and parking constraints in addition to setbacks would prohibit those entirely. Any redevelopment would face numerous checks and balances, from the Board of Adjustment to site plan review, to zoning and planning, to the town council themselves, to the comprehensive plan, and compatibility standards. In conclusion, when judged by the appropriate legal scope and merit, this application is fully compliant. Under quasi-judicial standards, approval is not just reasonable, it is the only defensible outcome. I urge you, our elected representatives, to correct the record, restore integrity to this process, and approve both motions tonight. Let's show that we are a town that values honesty, transparency, and accountability, not just from our citizens, but also from our own departments. Thank you sincerely for your time, your service, and your consideration. May this town continue to grow with wisdom, honor its past while embracing the future, and leave a legacy of fairness and foresight for generations to come. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Kristen, can you confirm that these two are not quasi-judicial? Is that correct?
Yes, the comprehensive plan map amendments are not quasi-judicial proceedings.
Okay. And if it fails, if they one or both fail, then there's no going on to the next two, correct?
Correct. In order
Okay.
to rezone, which are the second set of ordinances on the agenda, the small map amendment would need to pass first reading to proceed to address the rezoning.
Okay. Doug?
So, as I think some of us have, maybe all of us have, we've spoken to Mr. Jacob with regards to this. I live on Tampa Avenue. I've used the crossover for many years. My primary concern, as I've expressed it to the plaintiff, I guess, if you will, applicant, excuse me, is just the uncertainty with regards to what the future would hold once you make the rezoning. It's not what is there that is of concern. Obviously, what is there has existed for a long time. There is a lot of transient nature in and of that parking lot because it is a beach zone. There's traffic in and out of there. There's a certain capacity associated with the existing structures. So if folks are living there because there's rentals, right? I know it's zoned residential, not high density, but because of the legacy of it, it effectively is because it's grandfathered in, similar to the apartment buildings on Shannon and Tampa Avenue. So from a capacity and usage standpoint, I don't see that as being an impingement upon what the town currently is, right? My biggest concern is what despite assurances and a full belief in those assurances from the individuals, 20, 30 years down the road, what could it be if we were to change and apply the T-zone to it? And without, those are land use rights that get associated with that. Understand there's limitations and setbacks, variances, those kind of things, but that would effectively open the door down the road for those things to be put in place. So that's my primary concern with regards to making a zoning change. I don't think the density would change substantially, as it kind of pointed out by Mr. Jacob, with regards to the limitations as it's laid out by the acreage and the setbacks. Thank you.
Brett?
John seems eager to speak, so.
I was just curious. I wasn't on council. I was at the council meeting in October, and I heard some of the advice he got. So I was just curious, when Starbucks was approved, wasn't there some kind of binding property plan saying that it couldn't be anything else? And if we did it there, couldn't we do something like this here, saying, no hotels will ever be built on this property, no high capacity condos, something like that? If we were to approve something like this, could we make that as part of the property plan?
I think if the applicant were to propose such a thing, that we would be able to consider it, but.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilman Brady, when Starbucks wasn't a rezoning issue, it was about the drive-through only, so they weren't rezoning it to a different use.
No, I understand that, but I'm
Okay.
just saying, could we do a similar type, or could the applicant do a similar type thing here?
That would be,
Yeah, at present, that's not part of the application, so it would be something that the applicant.
Understood, understood.
Brett?
Yeah, so, exactly. If the applicant is interested in ameliorating any concerns, and I met with them, I conveyed this, then, yeah, it would behoove them to, at this public hearing, voluntarily, on their own volition, propose a restrictive covenant for the property. It's not for us to tell them that they need a restrictive covenant, because that's unlawful. But if they voluntarily provide it a restrictive covenant, then yes, that can be enforced as a matter of law. And you'd be surprised, these things can last for 30 to 50 years. They can require, in order to be overdone, they can require the consent of, you know, say a majority of people within 500 feet, or you can say, you know, set the threshold at like a third or 40% of people within the 100 block between, you know, Cocoa and Tampa, something of that nature. And the restrictive covenant could be something of, well, it's for the applicant to decide how they want to propose that, if they do want to propose it. So I do think that that's a feasible option that we can, that maybe, you know, they'll choose to explore. But I will say, just a couple other comments. From a practical standpoint, I mean, these couple parcels here are like unicorns in the town. I mean, even if they were all combined under one ownership and they were to be redeveloped as under R1A as it currently is, it's gonna require all kinds of setbacks and variance, variance setbacks and such anyways. I mean, it's, no matter what it is, it's gonna require that. It will require variances, going before the Board of Adjustment saying, you know, because, I mean, currently, so every R1A lot is supposed to be 100 feet wide, and this is only 75, so when it comes to functionally complying with setbacks and fitting in buildings and stuff, they just won't be able to meet it. Beyond, and also I know a lot of people think, they're kind of concerned, like, oh, these would be these huge, you know, I think their fear is that there's gonna be some really large, high-density building there, even if it was redeveloped without any sort of restrictive covenant. And from a practical standpoint, that can't really happen. At the same time, even under R1, frankly, in all honesty, if it was somebody bought all the lots as R1A, that's actually gonna negatively affect the residents more, in my opinion. You can go to 30 feet high in a 2-story building, versus under the tourist district, you can do 35 feet on a 3-story building. So the height difference is not gonna be much, you know, beneficial, you know, to the residents. But, you know, Anne, frankly, is an awesome neighbor. I consider her a neighbor, even though I don't live next to her, just from going to the beach all the time, meeting her, talking to her all these years. If you lived here long enough, you know that that was a blighted piece of property, and if you look through our comprehensive plan, there's always language, talk about what we can do to improve these, you know, type of blighted, these areas. You know, if you get to know her, and like, you know, she's a good neighborly person. Like, if you go up there and all the parking spots are taken, and you know her, it's like, you know, there's a little overflow parking. It's like your friends. Someone does an R1A there, and I don't want to talk for you, but I mean, you do that for people. If there's R1A there in a huge house, you're not gonna get that. Someone's gonna put a huge hedge, and then before you know it, all their friends are gonna be parking in all our parking spots that we use to go to the beach. So I think, I'm just talking from a practical standpoint, not even getting the technicalities of this stuff, that what a lot of the residents are concerned about, it won't be any better if it was redeveloped as a single-family home. And then and so here's the other issue is, again, this is a unicorn piece of property, so it has a multifamily there, right? So even if we don't do tourists, you know, they're allowed to have a multifamily, you know, long-term leases, okay? Say a hurricane comes and knocks over the property that Anne has done a great job of, you know, improving to the benefit of all of us, right? She can't replace what she has there. It would have to then be a single family. That doesn't seem fair, right? So then it's like, well, how do we address that? Well, could we do it to where we zone it as a multifamily zone without it being tourist? Well, no, because then it's gonna be spot zoning, which is definitely, unlawful, right? So the only option is to go tourist. Why? Because just across the little parking lot there, it's tourist, and it's all, you know, uniform. And it's not out of the ordinary to say, okay, all of a sudden, because we're on this other side of the street, not ending the tourist district there. Because if you look in the town, there's other areas where that happens, where it crosses over just for a few little spots. Not necessarily tourists, but like in some commercial areas and multifamily, professional areas, things of that nature. So that's not out of the ordinary. And so, yeah, the only way to do it is to allow the tourist, in order to be enable Ann, which I believe she should have this right, that if a hurricane comes and knocks a place over, which is clearly not out of the realm of possibility, that she should be able to replace what she has. So I'm, in favor for it. I understand a lot of the residents are concerned. So, again, to ameliorate any of those concerns, maybe the property owner wants to, propose something, I don't know.
Carrie?
So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. I've seen the property, I don't know you, but I've seen the property, and you have done a fabulous job of renovating and restoring it, and good for you. When the property was purchased, it's 2 units, and it was an existing Airbnb?
It's 3 units.
Pardon?
It's 3.
I'm sorry, 3 units.
One of them was being used as an
Okay, so, because you were grandfathered in?
That was the prior
Oh.
owner.
Yeah. Step up to the mic.
That was the prior owner. When I came in on a Friday and I saw the sign. I came back on Saturday, looked at the property. They were telling me that the unit 5 was an Airbnb at that time. The other 2 were rented. The following Friday, I bought the property because I didn't have a home. Everything was in a pod. So I bought the house in a week. I didn't know it was non-conforming. I didn't know any of that. And I went to work. And that's been my home for 8 years. And I don't plan on going anywhere.
Okay. And what happened to make it non,
So, and Cliff or Mike can step in, I believe, but I think the Airbnb.
wanna understand.
Yeah, the Airbnb.
I think I know, but I just
yeah,
wanna know
I think
for
the Airbnb
sure.
operation that was being run there was non-conforming.
Yeah.
And
Just like
there's no,
with
gran-
other
there's no
properties for-
grandfathering in, but that's not necessarily Ann's
okay,
fault.
so that's the wrong term.
That's- Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've never changed the zoning there. That property's been the zoning since the town adopted the zoning. And when Mr. Mosley was talking about like the only thing we did have changed is where you're allowed to do short-term rentals. And that's, we did it before the state statute change, otherwise that area. We have other areas in town where we have non-conforming buildings, several of them, where if something got destroyed, they couldn't rebuild a fire, hurricane, whatever. And the property owners, when they buy them, they're aware of it and stuff like that when they do their due diligence. So that property up there has been in existence, and we did get a complaint. That's why we sent the letter after investigating it for the short-term rental. And I don't know, but I know for a long time, those apartments were rented. I've been here 35 years, and the apartments were underneath there were rented and by people that were renting them long-term. I don't know when it turned into a short-term rental issue. And I think Cliff might be able to answer some.
We did have a conversation before you bought it, and I did explain the nonconformity to you. It was before you bought it. And Chris Campbell had a conversation with you as well. I think you knew him from down south.
Property in 5 days.
Right,
Came in on Friday and I bought it on
right.
Friday.
But the point I'm making is there was a discussion about the nonconformity. So that's simply just not true. After
Not
I'm
yet.
finished. And as far as any vacation rentals, if there was an ongoing thing, we would have been sending letters for that. There was nobody operating legitimately as a vacation rental there, I can tell you that, because we don't do that in that zone. So, and as far as I know, they had long-term renters there. It was the same people there living in the house. I wasn't aware of any short-term stuff going on. But there was discussions, there was a couple of discussions that we had about that property in depth. And I think the town manager at the time, Chris Chenault, also had a discussion. And Chris was on the zoning board, I think? Campbell?
Yes, sir.
He, as I said, he talked to her as well. So she did know what she was buying.
Okay, so being said, so I have some more clarity. I do fully agree that it's a unicorn, and I'm inclined to support the rezoning at this point. And I'd just like to point out, for everyone that's here, our gold standard is Blue Beach, the Tiki Bar, which is zoned tourist, and they shut down during the week at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, and it poses no reasonable complaints from our residents. Is that the nicest way I could say that? So, thank you.
I just had a couple,
Yep.
a couple more questions. There's a report up here from Margaret Embledge.
She's in the audience over here.
Okay, nice to meet you. Is there a report from last year from the previous land planner?
Yeah, it's attached to the agenda.
It is, okay. And in that report, was the zoning request approved,
Recommended or whatever.
recommended, right,
There
exactly.
was a recommendation. That report did not contemplate the town's ordinance 08-01. And so that flipped everything on its head when we had Mr. LaRue retire and had to re-examine because we had the change in the applicants to include the additional parcels. So I do want to mention with regard to the pending motion, if the rezoning moves forward, we need to address 0801 because it would need to be an exemption to that particular ordinance, which is currently on the books.
Okay, it just seems like a patently unfair situation that this property owner is in with the flip-flopping of a recommendation, now that recommendation is removed. As I shared with you earlier, I recently started umpiring baseball, and I spent the last 3 weeks up in Cooperstown, New York. I was on the base umpire duty, and I called the kid safe at third base. The defensive coach wanted me to go check with the plate umpire, so I did. He said, I didn't see nothing. I came up and I called the kid out. I had a complete brain fart. I messed up. I called the kid out. The kids left the field. A couple innings later, coach came up to me and said, you blew that one, Blue. And you know what I said? You're absolutely right. I blew that call. I messed up. I flip-flopped. I just don't want to see the town in that same position. And if someone in the town can own up to that mistake, that'd be great. If it wasn't a mistake, if it's just an oversight, that's great. But someone needs to own up to that. And in fairness to these property owners. So,
Yeah, and, you know, of course, the current planner is here and can speak to that, but I do want to remind everyone in this room that this was addressed previously at the Zoning and Planning Board, which that hearing took place 2 months ago. I also want to just make it clear for council members that when I learned of the potential for a change, I reached out personally to the property owner / applicant and made multiple attempts to try and communicate to see if we needed to push the hearing or they needed additional time. So it wasn't intended to be an ambush, and they opted not to delay. They were ready to go, but yet there was still full questioning and transparency at the Zoning and Planning Board hearing about the reasoning behind the changes. And I believe Mr. Casey can probably shed some additional light because I was not part of that conversation initially.
Yeah, if we're talking about the initial conversation, there, and before it came up with the council, we did say they'd have to do a rezoning application for that, so, but it didn't go, they never turned an application in. And when it got brought up by Councilman Miller, is when they said, and we told them they have to have an application for both properties. We can't just work one under the other. That's statute. So it's not like that.
right, but they received some legal guidance from Paul Gugelman sitting in that chair right there saying, why don't we just piggyback these requests together? I was in the audience. I remember seeing that. And that's a great idea. That's a great use of government, so we don't have to belabor the point. We don't have to get into all this bureaucracy. He was cutting through all that stuff, and he gave these folks legal guidance, and they followed that, and then the town went back on that. So
Sorry. I was just going to say, I think there was no going back from my understanding of how this has proceeded. There was obviously a delay when Paul passed, so that, you know, was kind of beyond the control. But the issue that was never addressed, which to me has become more of a prevalent issue, is the fee associated with it, which Paul did not address. There was no indication that the fee would be waived, and by the code, it would be a business misstep, I believe, and Mr. Casey can speak to that, to not address the fee. But I do believe the fee was still reduced from the current amount that is actually owed. So I don't know the extent of the fee aspects,
But, to that portion, I personally reviewed the video to try and move this the way that the intention was, but with the fee being silent and with the legalities of what they are, we obviously had to work through a unique situation with regard to making sure the town is, protected and proceeding properly, but at the same time, trying to honor, if you would, the indication that these applications would be considered together.
And originally, the fee was $4,500, but we had quoted them $3,000, so we held at that per property. And that doesn't even cover, we've well exceeded what the fee was in taxpayer dollars on this matter before we even got here. So that's all the fees to help cover some of the legal ads and all the legal work and stuff that's to be done by that.
Point of order, if I may.
We'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back to public comment. Anything else? Any questions for the planner while we have her? All right, public comment. And Jacob, since you were up, go ahead.
Jacob Mosley, once again, 1501 South Miramar. To be clear, the October 16th meeting, if you go to the timestamp reference 2 hours and 6 minutes to 2 hours and 8 minutes, that is the culmination of the discussion regarding this matter that Councilman Miller had punted onto the meeting. There was an explanation and there was an application previously submitted July 9th that July 11th, Mr. Casey had forwarded to Jim LaRue. So that had taken place prior to that point. Mr. Gugelman had expressed at the meeting that there would be no fees charged and that they can reduce the fees possible accrued by the town by piggybacking it and taking the steps required by internally notifying ZMP to mitigate additional labor hours, to mitigate the newsletters provided. I understand that they paid $2,000 of the $3,000 to hire the LaRue firm to complete the report, and there may have been some minor differences in the financial expenditure provided. However, that was not expressed to us via email in February or communicated to us at all between October 16th and February when the single property was to be run by itself. So if we were provided notice amply beforehand that that was not to be amenable, we could have avoided the excessive cost incurred by the town for this and possibly worked along the way. If I may, in comment to Brett Miller requesting a voluntary covenant and discussion in that capacity, I believe the facts speak for themselves that this property is undevelopable in a capacity that is not like the surrounding land uses. So at this time, there does not seem to be a valuable or legally binding argument that could be provided that would alleviate the concerns of the citizens while still maintaining a legally binding agreement that would be possible for us to maintain the dwellings as they stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I also recall, and now I have homework tonight. I'm going to go back and look at that council meeting because I do remember Mr. Gugelman mentioning a reduction in fees for this process.
Right, which they were though.
They were.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It was 45 down to 3,000 per property. Rick, do you want to speak? For all those that don't know, Mr. Bertel is the chairman of the Zoning and Planning Board.
Rick Bertel, 143rd Avenue, Indy Atlantic. I just wanted to clarify how it went with the zoning board so everybody understands. The main thing that seems to be an issue is talking about the two different engineering reports that were done and how that affected the outcome. That did not affect the outcome. It was something that when you sit on the planning and zoning board, you listen to, like when you guys listen to what they say, it's the same thing. We take into consideration what we read and what the report said. When we do that, it's just one thing that we take into consideration. Then we take into consideration everything else that goes into being on the planning and zoning board. So yes, that was something that came one way and then another way, but in the long run, there's a few other things that were more important. And let me preface it with, I grew up around here, and the Sea Ranch was basically, I thought it was the Sea Ranch Hotel. I mean, it was always a place that we went, and it's always been that. But as the head of the zoning board, I've been doing it a long time, and the danger that we live under is changing something in what happens then. And I think what you came up with, Mr. Brady, would be brilliant if there was a way to put some restrictions on what they do where they still get what they want, but there's not an expansion. You know, I never thought of that one, and that would be real good if they would. It's not up to us to do it, as I heard. But if they would do that unilaterally and came back with that, it could be something that saves us, because I want to give you an example. I develop and I sell commercial real estate. So I put together groups of properties to do deals and to build things. And in knowing that intimately, if I was there, I might go buy the property next door on the ocean going south and come back here and say, look, that place has been loud and noisy, so you know, this place doesn't work, and I really want to combine this with that and buy them both, and then I could have a much bigger piece of property and go do what I want to do if I came back here and changed it because they were next door to me and not separated by the road. So there's issues, and then it could keep expanding, and there's things that we don't know that happened over the years and years and years. I think these folks have been under a lot of stuff they've gone through in the last year. So if there's a way that something can be done, everybody on the zoning board basically was feeling the same way. You know, for what they have and what they could do with what they have, it'd be nice if they'd always been able to do what they wanted to do, but they can't. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place unless there was something that the attorney came up with, if they requested it, that they could do. And if it can be done, I think it would be brilliant, but it would have to really be a consideration of limiting what could be done in the future on that piece of property. Because once you do it, and it's actually abutting that piece of property to the south, they can come back in and say, hey, you did it there, let's do it here, let's do it here. So as long as it's restricted, and if they came up with an idea, or if everybody worked together on that, I hate to say they have to come back again, but they've been through it for over a year. If there's a way to do that, that's the only thing I could see. But that's what happened in zoning. I just wanted you guys to understand. It wasn't the engineering reports. It really wasn't. It was just this, we have to always be aware of, you know, we're a single-family community, and that was the worry. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I like the binding site plan idea. All right, Mr. Gary Jones.
Good evening. My name is Gary Jones, 1601 South Miramar, and thank you for your service, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. I'm opposed to making any small-scale amendments that would allow any changes to the comprehensive plan and future land map at 53 Tampa, 63 Tampa, and 1501 South Miramar. Moreover, I'm opposed to any rezoning that would allow aforementioned properties to be moved from single-family resident status to tourist classification. These changes to convert from single-family residents to tourist have been reviewed and denied by the professional staff, which gave their report to the Zoning and Planning Report Board last month. These changes were reviewed and denied unanimously by the Zoning and Planning Board, and these changes, in my mind, are inconsistent with the spirit and tenets of the town of Indianapolis, which Rick just mentioned, are family-friendly, supposedly. It calls for less traffic and more families. Today, I drove up and down, as I often do, Jimmy Buffett Boulevard, A1A, and I noticed condo after condo after condo. I noticed vaping and dispensaries for cannabis. I noticed 2 single-family residents from Duncan Brands south all the way down to Tampa. There were 7 up to St. Mark's on the ocean side. I live at 1601 South Miramar, which is 4 houses down from this said property. My concern is not as much the improvements that occur on that non-conforming property. But what happens if Mr. DeJean and/or Mr. and Mrs. Hess, or the Marchands I see in the back, or the Joneses, on all the way down, decide, well, we too don't want to hear any more noise. We too don't want to put up with any bed and breakfast and/or whatever. And we decide to sell as well. The idea was prompted earlier that maybe we could restrict this. Well, that's what the code says now. That's what the code says now. Single-family residents from Tampa down to Melbourne, we have 8 left. 8 families that live there. That's our home. We don't want any more commercial. We don't want any more cannabis dispensaries. We don't want any more Dunkin' brands. It's enough. It's enough. We want families. We want bicycles. We want to smell the grass when they cut it. That's what we want from our mayor and our town council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
Is that your homestead?
No, I live in Atlanta part-time. We'll be moving here full-time next year.
Okay. And how long have you been here?
I've been in the Atlantic for 4 years,
Okay. How long have you owned that house?
since November 25th.
Okay.
Just moved in.
Anyone else? Thank you, Scott. And Scott tried to address us.
Scott Smith, 321 7th Avenue. There was a comment made earlier about the lack of transparency at the Board of Adjustments meeting. I went to that meeting. I'll admit it was boring, but there was no lack of transparency for certain. It was beaten to death multiple times over and over. There was no transparency issue whatsoever. If you have an opinion that somebody writes and then that person isn't here anymore, we hire a new person, and that person makes a new assessment? What's the new person's assessment? If the last person had a different assessment, that person's not here anymore. We don't care. We don't go back and look at old assessments if we have a new assessor. And if the new assessor seen something different than the old one did, and it opens up a unicorn, a big hole here in what can happen in Indy Atlantic, well, that's really not a good thing. So I'm glad that we're looking at it again and looking at it real hard. And it seems like no matter what we do, if we say yes to what they want to do, it can come undone. It can unravel, and we can all be sitting here saying, well, this is unjust and everything. And then a few years from now, we'll be saying, yeah, you know what? Made a bad decision. The meeting that Rick presided over was a great meeting. There was no subterfuge. There was nothing that wasn't discussed with the people.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Diogo Adradas, 420 11th Ave. So 2 things I've heard here, and I've heard it repeated now 3 times, the idea of the domino effect, right? That as the dominoes will fall, everything will just sweep away. Even a member of the board there has said that. Miller, you got it right. There's a boundary there, and then things on the boundary obviously have a different characteristic than the things beyond. I don't understand how a member of the zoning board could imply that this kind of ludicrous idea that the dominoes will fall. I actually have no dog in this fight, but I don't want to hear bad arguments here. The other one here that I heard was that it was a meeting of full transparency and that there was no subterfuge. Perhaps you were a little bored at that meeting, but at the meeting it was clear that there was a second opinion which agreed with the original opinion. And then that second opinion was changed. So it was not just a second person disagreeing, it was a second person disagreeing with themselves. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone? As always, I forgot to weigh in. I'm with Doug, you know, the unknown is is, I think, the concern. I do appreciate the work y'all have put into it, you know, because it was dilapidated before. But I also, you know, we have a town planner who's, you know, more of an expert than me, zoning and planning, more of an expert than me, that both recommended against it. I know there was the flip-flop, but that was, as my understanding, there was new information regarding the prohibition on short-term rentals that caused that flip-flop. So for me, I think without a binding site plan or what restricted covenants, yeah, I think I'm against it. But anything else from council?
But yeah, I kind of want to encourage people to look at this from a practical standpoint. You know, we're talking about, well, one, again, I want to reiterate that it's a multifamily property. Multifamily is already allowed there. So the owner should be able to replace what they have. The only way to do that is to change this to tourist district. But then the idea, this to me is just kind of, it's like silly, preposterous, that all of a sudden that use being a tourist district which would allow short-term rental is all of a sudden going to become an issue when Tuckaway Shores is directly across the street and uses overflow parking on this property. Having used that beach access for 7 years, going on 8 years, there's never been any issues with any of when it was previous short-term renters or, you know, now long-term renters. Never seen any issues. Everyone was always very courteous, quiet, and the place has only been improved. So it's just, I don't know, it does not equate to think that there's gonna be an issue by having short-term rentals there. But again, the real concern, in my opinion, and I think it should be everyone else's, is that the owner should be allowed to replace what they've purchased. And in order to allow that, it has to be tourist district. But at the same time, I strongly recommend, because there's a good chance it might not get approved unless there's a voluntary, I mean, I'm serious, I'm on the fence. Because I have an obligation to the residents, and the way it was represented to me initially was that the concern was being able to do the, you know, short-term rentals, because that's what it started out as, and being able to replace what you have. And now I am concerned that there's an undertone that there's an ulterior motive. And I don't know that it's necessarily the owner's motive, but I believe that there might be a motive there. So I strongly, strongly recommend that there be a voluntary proffer of a restrictive covenant.
Just a point of,
And we don't have to make that here. You can make the proffer, and then we can move to status proceeding and go on for you to work with town staff to figure out what you want it to be.
Doug?
just a couple of points of history, just for folks. So there are houses in the R1 district, notably north of here, and there's some other ones around that have outbuildings, if you will, that are on the property line. And think of one, I think it's on like First or Second Ave, that was a Mexican style. It was completely gutted during the 2016-17 storms, and the house had to be rebuilt. And because of that, they had to tear down the garage in the back, even though the residents didn't want. So it is not unheard of for non-conforming properties to have to become in conformance when something like hurricane storm damage occurs. So while unpleasant, it has occurred elsewhere within the town. Would also like to remind folks that we did.
It would be required.
Yeah, but they're zoned R1. We didn't spot zone to make it a denser zoning, or allow an outhouse building that was within the setback limit.
But there wasn't like an application, a request for that.
They did. They went to Board of Adjustments. And it got denied.
Okay, well, I'll talk.
No, we can talk for. So it's just a point of reference. So it does happen. It's not unheard of. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. It's unfortunate in those circumstances where it's no party's fault per se. It's just an act of God. The other one I want to remind folks of is that just south of Publix, where the new townhouses were built, we changed that zoning from R1 to R3. And that was 6, 7 years ago. I forget exactly when. I'm getting too old. Anyway.
Maybe about 3.
Yeah, and we did that because it brought it in to be consistent with the R3 zoning, which is normally within the first block or half block of A1A on the west side of A1A. So it is not unheard of for us to make zoning changes to increase the density that is consistent with the town comprehensive plan. Not saying that applies here specifically, but there is a precedence within the town to make zoning changes.
But they did a declaration, right? Of restrictions.
We did, no, that was a zoning change. It went through ZNP. We did the comprehensive plan update. We did an assessment through LaRue Planning and so on. So we did the same, we followed the same exact process.
Starbucks.
No, this is actually, there's townhomes right behind where the nail polish place is and just south of Publix on Watson.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, so that was developed, anyway, that was just a point of reference. Just that it does happen when it's consistent and appropriate. So it's not unheard of for these things to be considered. I'm not saying that that's a precedent, because that's not what we're here to establish a precedent. But those are I just wanted to provide that background. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Wright, just on that property, it was rezoned. They originally asked for RP, and they got turned down for RP, and it came back with a R3 because it's more consistent.
Because it's consistent with how we zone along the
Yeah.
100 block.
So there was concerns with that neighbors raising, and RP would, they could have different businesses there and things.
I tend to agree with Councilman Miller that this is a one-off. This isn't, the dominoes are going to fall. This isn't a slippery slope. I mean, if this was a house back in the neighborhoods asking for this, it would be an absolute hard no. But this is a one-off. This is an exception to the rule. This is a unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people that don't know, there's 3 parcels in here, and one of them is only 35 feet wide. So it's like, that's how, like, of an anomaly this situation is.
Very weird. Jacob, do you have anything before we vote?
I'm unsure about the legally bindingness of making a voluntary covenant in this capacity. However, you do have the zoning map there. If I may, just allow me one moment, I have it here. We would be willing to entertain having a voluntary covenant preventing R1A Parcel 2, which is DeJean's property, from being combined in folios with 1.01 and 1.02 to alleviate the president of the zoning and planning's concern about commercial development and expansion. I understand that the Boardwalk new restaurant that replaced the Wendy's is half within one zone and half within another zone that creates some levels of concern in that capacity. So we would be amenable to something of that capacity and to further alleviate those concerns potentially, and I'm not sure about the legally bindingness of these requests, having 1.02 enter into a voluntary covenant that prevents it from being merged with Folio 1.0 or 1.01. I understand that 1.0 and 1.01 are both owned by the same person, and based off the square footage of the 1.01 lot, which is 75 by 35, that in future code compliance and factors, they might need to be merged to maintain a single family on that property. I would not want to touch the 2 properties that he has and the properties between them. However, we would be willing to entertain something between the parcel that my mother owns and their parcels between 1.02 and 1.01 to alleviate concerns of commercial development, et cetera, and concerns of extension to the south, as much as when you look at the site plan and you look at the codes, the plats themselves do not match whatsoever with the single-family plats to the south. So while I do not believe the argument of a slippery slope is credible in this situation, or that it would be possible for the single-family homes to the south to engage in an application based off the precedent of this, to alleviate concerns and save face, for lack of a better term, something could be negotiated to provide better alleviation to the potential fears that citizens or council may have. To address Councilman Miller's point about a potentially subverted intention regarding that, the primary crux and the sole reason for this has nothing to do with vacation or transient rentals at this property. That is something that is solely a benefactor of being part of the tourism zone and what spurred this entire process from the cease and desist provided from 2023. The main concern was about alleviation of the nonconformities and the ability to maintain what has been improved upon there. That is the main crux of it, regardless of if it is in the tourism zone and no business permit for vacation rental is provided. It will be considered a win by our part because we can maintain this as my inheritance and as my children's inheritance. If anyone has any direct questions for me before I sit, my time is up.
Kristen, do you have a recommendation on how to proceed if they are open to that?
Well, it's unclear what they're proposing, honestly. I'm sitting here listening, and I would recommend to the council, if they are going to propose some sort of covenant or proffer, that be made clear and the application be amended for us to understand exactly what that looks like, and to go ahead and consider continuing first reading. It's not clear to me exactly what he's proposing.
No, I'm right there with you, but it's clear that he opened the door, and he's making a proposal to engage in a discussion about it. No, it's fine. Put it this way, I wouldn't expect you to have a full-on detailed proposal right here that we're all gonna understand and be like, sure, we're ready to sign off on it, you know what I mean? It honestly needs to be in writing, people have the, get the agenda, have ability to digest it, ask questions of staff, and then go from there. Hate to delay the process for you any further, but I think it's, otherwise your option is potentially getting a no, and
The one question,
I think this would be your best bet. I mean, stay it.
how, the applications are good for 6 months, is that right?
180 days from the day of submission, it's required to be heard and voted on.
Right. So,
They can't be penalized for any sort of delay because it was all on us. Due to
that was the question.
passing and such.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who enforces that timeline?
And what is the enforcement?
If I may? Yeah, that's that.
What's the enforcement?
Is it a town ordinance or is it a state?
Or do they have to reapply or like repay?
No.
I mean, because I would recommend that they don't have to repay. It's the
Sure,
point.
sure, I understand. And as far as the business aspect, I would agree, but that would be ultimately up to the town manager to make a determination on
Instruct us
that.
not to, but I mean, I think it's important if you're considering that to have everything in writing, not just verbally and things like this, because, but I think we'd be fine, because it's in the process. It doesn't say, we've already had hearings on it. So we're within that time period. It just doesn't say when it has to be completed. It has to be heard.
Right.
Yeah, and you guys are at the top of the list now. I mean, there's no more, you know what I mean? This is a hot button issue now.
I was just going to say, it's as per Florida statute 163 that designates the timeliness of it. It's not a municipality-based policy or ordinance. It's a Florida statute. And if it goes to the zoning and planning and it does not complete its process within 180 days from that, granted there are possible extensions under circumstances such as this, then it has to go back to zoning and planning before coming back to the council. So there is a timeliness to it, but it can be halted or delayed based off these types of technicalities.
So if Jacob is nothing, he's thorough, right?
Well, and just to be clear, 53 and 63 came in at a different date, too. So we have that additional wrinkle on the time frame here.
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's no penalty, if we were to move forward. Yeah, there's no trapdoor, there's no penalty or anything like that. So I think we need a yes or a no, correct, from the property owners if they want to do the binding site plan. Is that?
Yes, if
Okay.
they want to propose that they're going to consider a restrictive covenant, then we need that
Right. So,
representation here.
so Jacob and,
His mom would have to, yeah.
okay, so I guess, and
How long will it take to do a covenant?
Well, that would be
If,
something,
you get that tomorrow from us, how long would that take?
that would be something you would have to work on, because you guys would be proposing that.
If I provide it to you tomorrow in writing, how long is your turnaround?
Well, it won't be tomorrow, I can tell you that long.
I'm just
That,
asking for
it would be coming back at the next council hearing.
so we can turn it in a month.
I'm trying to get an idea, because this just drags on, so I want to
Right.
make sure where we're heading and the cost.
Let's all be clear, this is
and-
government. Government moves like molasses on a cold day. For a reason, though. No, but it's for a reason. Rather get it right, for your sake,
So,
not get it at all.
so the question, I guess, is do you guys,
So we're talking about Dijon to the south of us.
that can be determined later. I think it's just, do you guys want to do a binding site plan at all? Yes or no?
voluntary covenants, the language.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
And
We only have one of the property owners.
It's for everyone's benefit.
I have the okay to do that.
you have to have
From
the
them.
power of attorney, you can't have,
We will
okay.
have them endorse and notarize a document. and
Right,
provide
they can do that. That does not have to occur at the meeting, correct? They can,
We can certainly, if
It
the
really
intention
does,
is to
it
set
has
them
to
off,
do with
right.
then
Dijon's property,
Right.
we'll
correct?
have to provide the restrictive covenant proposal
Yeah.
with either a power of attorney or have the owner
Okay.
involved in that.
Properties
Planner pointed
101 and 1,
Yeah.
10, right?
The planner pointed out too, that we can set a
53 lot
certain date, like the
63.
next council meeting, relying on them getting that by statute, so it doesn't,
So it's the property owners that are asking for the change that need to submit the covenant, or the
Yeah.
proposal, excuse me.
yeah.
Has nothing, it doesn't have to do with any other properties that would be abutted or somehow included, or,
So let's be clear, is this going to be I don't see as the property to the east of me, Godwin's property, that would be an issue. Do we need a covenant for that property also?
That would be up to you, I think, right?
Well, if they're asking for rezoning, yes.
I mean, I would think that a healthy one might be that the two owners aren't gonna combine parcels, because that's what would allow for maximum density in that area. And maybe something about what you replace is gonna be X amount of square footage.
I just want to be clear that my property is, the units are 4, 5, and 6, because it used to be 1, 2, 3. So there was 6 units on that property to start with. I don't think you can get more than 6 on it as it is now. So I thought they were more concerned, the residents, about Dijon's property to the south, that he could buy our properties and become something major.
There's probably a
That's
lot
what
of,
I thought the concern was from the public.
right, there's probably a lot of
That's
concerns,
where I
but
said
that's,
the square footage aspect, because if you have a restriction limiting how much, the size of development on your property, then that would ameliorate against that.
Okay. I just want to know where we're heading.
Yeah, absolutely. You're heading forward, if you go this route, in my opinion, better than backward.
Cliff,
The covenants do need to address all of that. If there is a hurricane and it destroys it beyond 50%,
Yep.
you cannot build it back. You cannot build it back as it is. That's all got to be gone over in the covenants where you could replace in the same footprint only. That's going to have to restrict it to that. Otherwise, all kinds of other things are going to kick in.
It won't have to. It depends
It
on
will-
what, it depends on what they propose, because the tourist district, if it goes to tourists, they do have the ability to do more than what it is. But lawfully, the property owner has the ability to say, although I'm in a zoning district that allows this amount of development, I am agreeing, covenanting with the public, that I won't do that, that I will do up to the X limit what they so choose, so.
all right.
So my
And I would say take
I
a
just
couple
wanna-
days on it, because there's some other issues you're gonna need to address.
I just want to be clear because that didn't make sense to me. My property, 1501, is my property. And if we have a covenant, that is not to be put together with the property south of me or the property east of me. But if something happens to my property under Zone T, a storm comes over, he's saying now it's a 50% rule. Is that for all Zone T?
It is. It's for any property. If you get destroyed beyond 50% of the value of just the shell, because that's not built with piles under it either, it's got to come up to today's standards. If you're going to do a covenant restricting it, you need to restrict it to exactly what it is what I'm saying. You've got to be very specific of what you're restricting it to, I guess is a better way to put that. Otherwise, you could end up with more units, which is what this whole thing is all about.
So-
There's a lot there to consider.
What I would recommend is getting with staff. I don't know what his time is. He's the one suggesting it, or, get your own lawyer, whatever. Brett's not going to offer you free legal advice, probably. 'Cause that's not what lawyers do.
That'd be conflict.
But, yeah, so it sounds like we're pushing this, and, we'll have staff work with you guys.
If it doesn't limit it, you're allowed whatever the code allows
Correct.
in that zone.
Correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Is You got to consider everything.
And just to address the concern about dragging on and so on, The council can continue this case to a date certain. We wouldn't have to re-advertise if we continue it tonight to a date certain. And that'll be, then give them time to provide what they're proposing and staff time to review it and give our opinion and possibly negotiate.
Right.
what
So from
might-
a staff standpoint, a month is enough, right?
Provided they're given time.
Right,
with
yeah, I
it.
mean, yeah, you can't get it the day before, but,
We have motivated folks in front of us.
Yeah, we need it a couple weeks in advance for the next council meeting.
okay.
So we'd have to go through the planner, and, the attorney and everything else.
Okay.
I would
say
suggest,
60 days would probably, not this next meeting, but if we're going to continue it to a date certain, 60 days to be safe, so we're not here in 30 days, and I'm just using 30 days. We're not here next month saying we're not ready. We can't obviously control whatever it is that they're going to propose. I know the aspiration is they can give us something tomorrow, but obviously, they're going to need to take whatever steps they are, and we can't guarantee that they can give it to us, in 2 days.
So 60 days provides you the assurance that it'll happen no later than 60 days, but it could be 30 days or whenever the next council.
Well, I would just ask the clerk to
If that's possible, not sure.
advise when is our
September 10th.
September 10th. So the second council meeting from now.
So say we would give them till like if they get it by the end of the month, or maybe so if we have it before the end of the month, we'd have enough time to review everything. So based upon,
Or August.
yeah, say like July
Yeah,
30th.
I don't like these timelines. Because they've been waiting so long, I think.
Yes.
I believe they're motivated enough to get something within a week. That's a reasonable amount of time for staff, all members who need to touch it, work with them, as long as it's a priority issue, which it should be because they've been waiting for so long. And we've already reviewed it X amount of times, so we know we're just gonna be dealing with a narrowed issue at this point. And if they get it within a week, we should be able to get it in the agenda prior to next meeting.
Agreed.
Now, it's on them to be able to get it within a week.
Is that good with staff?
I don't want to be rude, but I kind of expect it of you all. So I would be disappointed if you're saying that you can't get to this.
100%. This is not how government should work. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not lecturing though at the same time. I'm just saying,
Mike, you got anything?
I just think we need to pick date certain, that's all I want to say. So if it's going to be in
So-
August, we need to make that decision and have a motion.
If we can have it by the 16th, which would give them a week from today.
Perfect.
And then would give us enough time to review, because gotta remember, when we're talking council agendas and stuff, we're not just talking, we put them out, a week in advance and things. So your 4-week period now is 3 weeks from now.
Okay, so is there a motion?
they get it in a week, that gives you 3
All right.
weeks to work with staff and negotiate to get it on the agenda. That's
Gives us-
definitely a reasonable amount of time.
So Doug, you want to make a,
Okay, so I will make a modification to my motion to stay, continue, there you go, I knew I was using the wrong word, continue. Well, I won't blame you, Brett. I'll blame my
I second.
lack of legal training.
I second.
I will, to continue the motion and hearing for ordinance, and I lost my place on the ordinance, so Molly, you'll have to rescue me.
here,
There we go. On ordinance 2025-05 and 07, and 2025-06 and 08, I'm assuming, are the other two, to a date of.
August 13th.
Certain date of August 13th? Okay, with the expectation of timeliness on all parties involved.
is there a
So
second?
moved.
Is there a second?
I'll say,
All right. Do we have to do public comment for that too?
well, you can open up, but.
Public comment? Anybody opposed? All right. All those in favor of approving the motion as stated by Doug, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. So come back as soon as possible with some type of binding site plan or covenant, not site, covenant. All right. Moving on. Mike, you want to log into the Zoom or have you already
Yep.
logged in for the rent
I'm
fund?
doing it right this second.
I didn't realize we were going to get technical.
So we're going to be discussing the rent fund kayak rental kiosk, and we're going to have the rep that gave us the presentation 2 months ago on hand, just to answer questions if staff, but the intent is not necessarily to listen to another presentation.
I'll admit. Swapping this. Approve. Give me 1 second here. Are you there, Chris? Open up that Phantom app to respond to any prompts.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Jacob.
Mo. I've asked him to unmute.
Oh, I think he's out. I just got an email from him.
Recording in progress. There he is.
Oh, Chris, you there? I don't know. We'll continue. I have an email that I just read saying he was going to leave in 5 minutes, and that was at 6:20.
So, question, on the, before we move away from this, does the recent actions with regards to the state budget and the repair of the Riverside Pier influence our motivation on this?
No, I don't think so, because we're still going to get the same thing.
Just curious. That's all.
Yeah. No. Right, Mike? I mean, even though the state appropriations were denied, we
Yeah.
still have, or will have the funds to do the kayak launch.
Yeah, it's only, I was trying to do this, so I wasn't paying attention to what he said. Yes, so I had met with the mayor earlier this week after the appropriations were denied. We didn't have enough this year to pay for what it is now and stuff with all the things.
We do or don't, sorry.
But in the fund balance forward for next year, for the October 2026, October 1st, 2026 budget, we do have that money. I have a meeting with Scott Glovitz this coming week, so we could be ready to go to RFP about that time and move on forward with it.
Okay.
We might actually be able to go to RFP beforehand, actually, because it's,
Probably better, the way things are going in price.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I think the intent here of the discussion is to direct the town manager to build this into the 2026 budget, if possible. So, I don't know what you guys thought. Doug, did you have any input on the idea?
No, other than the fact that I realized the governor line item vetoed the funding, so we're matching funding, so I wasn't sure what the plan for, options were going forward, grant-wise, budget-wise, or otherwise.
Yeah. Mayor and I do have a meeting with the state appropriations, the director of the budget with the governor, with Jason Steele and a couple other people in the next week, I believe.
So there's still hope, is what you said.
I think it's actually August.
It's August, yeah, sorry.
August 13th.
That's right, August 13th.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the kayak rental, Doug?
Not concrete, other than just, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if the kayak launch is there. I'd like to see how it fits maybe with with the church property and how it would look aesthetically and those kind of things, but.
Yeah, I mean, we can nail that down, I
Yeah,
guess,
fair enough.
later.
That's what
But,
it's not. I don't have any, like, deep philosophical questions.
Just, if you want me to put it into the budget, that's the thing.
right, that's the question.
I mean, we still got several budget meetings and stuff to go ahead, and it could change if you wanted to remove it and things like that till our final budget into September. It was easier to have it added in the beginning, because it's a little hard to add in later on, which will cover millage rate in a few minutes.
We need 3 new police cars.
Do we?
We do.
Good?
Promised them take-home cars last year. That's why they didn't get a big giant raise.
They
So we promised them 3 cars. I think
never
that's-
promised them 3 cars. They got 2 cars. They're getting a car this year, too.
Well, we kind
So-
of dangled the carrot, to be honest. We did.
I never
So,
did.
so that's another discussion. We're talking about kayaks.
Yeah.
We'll put some lights on the kayak
Saying that should take priority.
paddle.
Marine Patrol?
Yeah, yeah.
Marine Patrol.
Fournier, you like that idea? Putting lights on a kayak and chasing people?
I got a trolling one.
I'm looking for the presentation.
It's somewhere in 114 is the page.
I mean, it kind of comes down to if you put it in the budget, it's easier to put it in and then
Take it
not
out.
use it.
Yes.
So.
Right, and yeah, so then the next question is, if you've looked at the packet, do we want to do 4 for 20,000, or do you want to do 8 for 35? Now, they don't have to be together, we can put them in multiple places, and you can move them, so that's not a problem. So there are, as I'm looking, there's different, packages, or if you go with the 8, you get better, different package, whatever. In tandem kayaks, you can do paddle boards. With the 8 instead of the 4, you can't. So, Brett, did you have any issues with adding?
Not with adding it to the budget, no.
You have a preference on 20 or 35?
My thought is to kind of start with less, because it's one of the situations where you can always add, but.
It can be, yep.
Sure you can't take away, or not without it being difficult.
Not without penalty.
Yeah, exactly. So I would think start slow. At the same time, it would be nice to have a mix. So I don't know if that means we have to start. You know what I mean? Like, it would be nice if people had the option of a kayak or a paddleboard.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion? Just go for the full thing right now, and you all can decide when we come back to sign the agreement and things,
Yeah, that's cool.
For budgeting.
for budgeting
Yeah.
purposes.
That makes sense. It'll be way easier.
Okay.
I get it's easier to shrink than to
Yeah,
Yeah,
increase.
yeah. And we have plenty of time.
So what was the full cost of,
35 is the cost of 8.
okay,
And that means expansion revenue share is 50%. It's a 5-year term, no cost to renew. You get city-branded signage with the 35, and then, like I said, you get tandem kayaks and/or paddle boards.
It's I'm just looking, it's a one-time fee only.
It is a one-time fee, yes.
yeah.
John, did you have any comments?
No, I just, last council meeting, weren't there some ordinance or policy roadblocks to moving forward with this?
We have to consider looking at some stuff about the vending and stuff like that, but it'll give us time to address the ordinance.
Okay, because I was just curious, who does the vending for the parking meters up there? I mean, there's precedent for getting into these type of agreements, correct?
The problem is some of our code on some of the other things is, it's not like parking meters are in our code. Those are other type of vending things. And we got to verify about boat launches and stuff, because I know on a causeway, you're not allowed to launch. We allowed to launch emergency vehicles, but we don't allow any boat launches from the causeway and stuff.
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm in favor of it. I think if we can generate revenue for the town, give police officers a pay raise,
Yeah, I think,
take-home cars, yeah,
Take up balance.
we're back on that, yes.
Right. Do you just need consensus, or
that's just consensus.
so we're all in favor of it?
Okay.
Okay. I will point out, as the packet states somewhere, some of the concerns that I saw on social media, which will be the death of me, is some people think that the kayak rental will detract from the peace and tranquility of the park. I tend to disagree. I understand the concern, but people, they don't have engines. They take the kayak and paddle away. And then traffic, people think the traffic's going to increase. It's maybe, 4 cars an hour. Let's see, Douglas Park, thought it's a great idea. There's just no place to put it,
No place to put it.
right? And we're not going to put in a,
Go under the bridge, causeway rather.
right. And then also, somebody said the kayak itself isn't necessarily a problem, but it's just one more little thing detracting from the non-commercial aspect of the town. So I was putting those on the record.
The fear of normal park activities in a public park and people enjoying themselves and having to drive there gets us every time.
Every time.
Anything else on that? Public comment? All right. New business, proposed fiscal year 25-26 millage rate of 6.238 and budget hearing date. Mike?
Yep. So we're proposing the max rate right now as we work on our budget to bring forward with the extra projects you all might have and everything. We, the rollback rate would be the exact same dollar amount that we got last year's this year. And of course, as we know, salaries, expenses go up, $500,000, $600,000, fire trucks now $1 million, and we're running that with vehicles. As we buy vehicles, I used to be able to get a police car for $20,000, now they're $65,000, out there. So we're running to more expenses. So I'm recommending this amount. We can always roll it back through the budget process. We can't increase it once we come up with this number. And that's a 10% increase over last year's rollback rate.
Mike, do you recall, so last year we ended at 5.9. 5.49, so we'll just call it that.
Yeah.
Do you recall what when we approved the maximum millage rate at this time last year, what we approved?
You did approve the 5.9999.
Okay, so that's where we landed, was the max.
Where we landed and stuff. We had no wiggle room in there for basically cover the budget.
Because insurance went up so much, like 75% or something like that.
We've had an increase in insurance and stuff. We've been doing good on our major projects because we've been able to put that money aside in our reserves and everything else that's paid for all these things. So that's helping us out somewhat, because otherwise, the $1 million worth of paving we've done the last couple of years, and the other things, that wouldn't, on a $4 million out ad valorem tax, we wouldn't have the money to operate things. That's why the planning and doing all the CIP things and stuff like that help out. But I know there's some projects council's interested in, and if there's anything that you all express during the budget process, we would have the funds there to fund that project, or we can just say, nope, we're good where we're at. And we can reduce it up to, the final was in October, or into September is a meeting. So we can never raise it back up, we can only lower it.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Anyone?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Propose the fiscal year 25-26 millage rate to 6.2388.
And what about the dates? You want to throw that in there too?
That's a second motion, I think.
Oh, it's a second motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see that there.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, is there a second on that?
I will second the motion.
All right, so just to be clear, we're setting a maximum, doesn't mean it will be that, but we're setting the maximum that it could be.
This is where I find myself asking, what would Stu say right now?
Yeah. He was here earlier.
Yeah, he was earlier.
Doug, any comments?
Historically, right, wrong, or indifferent, we've been at or below 6%, 6 mil, or 6%. 6 mil always sounds weird when you say it like that. I kind of get cringy at 6.2388. Just personally, I recognize cost of goods, all the other things we need to invest in, all that stuff. So we'll work with staff, and it's a process. So.
And we were over 6 before.
I'm sure we have been.
Couple years ago, yeah.
I'm sure it has. It's oscillated, and we're not. Don't go back to the Chenault days at like 4 something, but.
Yeah. There was 7%, or we can do like Satellite Beach one. They're almost at 9%.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I do. One question that came up. It was on social media and on those who shall not be named, but it was an interesting question that I was not aware of. There is a program through the.
It's coming up next month.
Through the state.
Yeah, so I chatted with Mike about it.
Okay.
And we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
For the exemption for the seniors for low income.
Yeah, so,
Okay, fair enough.
Mike, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, you're talking about, it took me a second to catch on, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you get with Molly, put that on August. Anyway, any comment, Brett?
I kind of have the same sentiment as Doug, but we're not married to it right now, so that's nice. And don't worry, Mike, you can always just blame it on tariffs, so.
John? Carrie?
Everything costs more right now. The car that I'm getting ready to replace in 45 days has increased $12,000. So things cost more. Police calls cost more, went from 20,000 to 65. I just kind of want to clarify something. We didn't promise 3 cars, but we did dangle your raise isn't going to be as big. but we're giving different incentives like take-home cars. So here we are a year later, they still don't have take-home cars. We kind of incentivize that to them, and I think we should honor what we say, and that should be something that we should be able to do.
We can talk offline about that. I'll give you, there's a little more information than you're getting on that side.
Yeah, paid for by the police
Also, the
union.
Budget Finance Committee, I chaired,
Oh.
it, so that was absolutely a discussion.
I know Chief talked about take-home. Is that policy written, do we know?
So we have a take-home policy written, but there are people taking their cars home right now. The sergeants and the corporals are all taking their cars home. We don't have enough, because the problem isn't just having take-home cars when they go out of line and out of service. So we planned last year, they weren't supposed to get a car this year. We put it into the budget for this year for another car, and now we get it. And when we did negotiate, they did get a bigger raise. They got the largest raise out of anybody in town, because they got additional dollars and the COLA last year. So they saw quite a significant raise last year,
Okay,
like $5,000 minimum.
so
Lowest in the county, but
moving on.
they were.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, we do have the vote.
Back to my point, things cost a lot more money, and we run a incredibly tight budget in this town, and it's super tight, and there's not a whole lot of extra money when we have something catastrophic that could potentially happen. We're a beach town. We need our own little rainy day fund, if you will. So that's why I'm in favor of it.
All right, public comment. All right, all those in favor of approving the maximum millage rate of 6.2388, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? How about a motion on the dates for the meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the workshop and hearing dates for the budget adoption of August 13th, September 10th, and September 22nd at times.
I'll second.
All right, any comments?
It's in the packet, but it's August 13th, Wednesday at 5 PM, which is before council. Wednesday, September 10th at 6 PM, which is not a council? That is a council? But we're doing it, because we're doing them for public hearing, got it. Sorry, that's what threw me. And then second public hearing, Monday, September 22nd, 5:30, which is not a council, but that's the final hearing. Got it.
Any comments? Public comment? All right, all those in favor of approving the budget hearing dates as stated by Doug, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, town manager evaluation. We can do like Melbourne Beach and
I did not get
tell you,
Miller.
tell you how bad
I
you
didn't
suck.
submit one because it said it was through 7/11/25. We have 2 days for Mike to do something catastrophic, and my review could be completely different.
Molly's
Sorry, that was
e-
technically.
Molly's email was pretty clear. It was
Yeah,
due
yeah.
the 2nd of July.
It was.
Just saying.
I know, but then you look at the form and it said.
She likes,
And I'm like,
she,
what do I do?
she put mine in the packet twice, so.
Right, we're gonna give it 2 vacation days, so
All right.
you can't do anything, so
Yeah.
you're good to go now.
Okay, cool.
All right, Mike, do you want to self-evaluate or what do you want to do?
So we can go over anything in terms, I read things about what y'all wrote and things, and yeah, I just left my paperwork in there. So I read them all and take in any considerations when it's in the writing, and I, work on that, and I'm gonna come back to you next month or the month after with the goals that I had met, and I think Doug Wright, the mayor, Deputy Mayor Wright, he actually asked for what the goals from last year, what they said, and, and if you look at most of the goals, I met them, some of them have surpassed, some of them they're still out there and stuff. I've done some stuff, like, talked about salary surveys, I actually have some information I've done on that and gathered and things.
I found it to be very, very useful and reminded me of the things we said we were gonna do a year ago or 10 months ago.
Projects and things.
And we went and did them, like I did anything, but the royal we. And so that helped, identify the successes and then reminded me of a few things that we still have to do. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, so.
Yeah. And based on the scores, the ones we received, it was a 4-point, and if Councilman Miller wants to submit his on the 12th, I'll be fine with that.
The
But-
7/11 at 5:01 PM.
A 4.2%, it was the average of the four together, And if you look at our employee, for like police and fire, I'm not even asking for what department heads are based on their scores and stuff, but that would be a 2.5% raise for police, fire, and other general employees, public works and stuff. And I'm just asking for a merit increase based upon my evaluations this year.
I didn't even see that.
I didn't write that out because I was waiting with all the things going. You normally put in a memo and write it out.
Gotcha. Any comments from staff, from council?
No, I was happy with, we wrote the goals down. I kind of foisted it upon the council to do that, but I thought it was useful. It helped keep us focused throughout the year. I thought we achieved some of those things. I would like to see us continue it for next year, and I would, you know, I thought it was helpful and useful. Thank you. Overall, I thought it was a good year. I think less drama is mo better for the town and the residents. Thank you.
Brett?
You got 2 days.
John?
No, thank you for all you do, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah. Gary?
I'm very happy.
Other than the police cars, apparently.
I will actually say something real quick, and it's about for all the staff, and I like to say this for the public, because I think sometimes they don't have quite the understanding. You know, we're at this intersection here, right, Fifth Ave, you know, 192, everyone comes over from Kissimmee, St. Cloud, you know, so we're like a busy little area, this municipality, square mile, yet, because we are a square mile, we're tiny, and we have a full, you know, time fire department and a full-time police department, so we're very constrained with what we can do. We're not like Satellite Beach, where you have all these different departments with, you know, department heads and managers, so our staff, Mike does a great job, it's not just Mike, it's everybody. You know, they do a lot with what they have, and so I think that I'm proud of.
Mm-hmm.
They laugh at me that sometimes the Connor does from the police department because I look for coupons for stuff.
Yeah, that's
So, yeah.
funny. All right. Molly, do you have anything to say about your boss? Joe?
I say you have 5%.
Yeah.
Of course, next month he does my raise.
Right. And you get 3, you get 2 of that.
I got her evaluation on my desk.
All right, discuss proposing a lease agreement with the city of Melbourne for the vacant property.
You had to make a motion and
Oh,
vote.
what are we voting on?
I will make a motion to approve
5%?
2.5% raise for Mike Casey on the basis of his performance review for 2025 fiscal year performance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other comments? Probably not, right? Public comment? Mike?
Mike Borshevitz, 443 10th Avenue. I moved to this town in January of 1993. Mr. Casey's the finest town manager we've had, in my humble opinion. Thanks for what you do.
Great.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. All right. All those in favor of approving the merit-based raise of 2.5% for the town manager, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, discuss proposing a lease agreement with the city of Melbourne for vacant property on South Palm Avenue, which is the old water tower site. For the new people, there is no water tower there now, just vacant with a building. Further described as Indialantic by the Sea, part of Gulf Reserve as designated in ORB 74 PG 178. Mike or Joe?
I'll start off and let Joe finish up on it real quick. Yeah, he came to a proposal, we've talked to you all about this previously, and he's had follow-up with the Public Works Director, who I guess the town manager, or city manager of Melbourne would like us to make a, you know, like $12 a month, something is the number that Joe had shared with me, you know, what we're gonna do with it. And there was an option, maybe we could see if we could buy it. My concern is this is in the R1 zone, so we gotta be careful what we put in there. It's got a wall around it, yes, but as I explained, we're not gonna put dump trucks down there and everything else like that. We have to be careful what we use it for, and, because we don't wanna disturb the residents around there. So that's my big concern, and it just authorized me to negotiate with the city manager of Melbourne. I should see next week, actually.
Okay. And $12 a month is reasonable? I know we've talked about it, it was like $1.12, but
Yeah.
Yeah, there was really no set price through City of Melbourne, but they suggested that we make a proposal of what we would like to do
Yeah.
per month with a long-term lease, 50-year lease or whatever. And personally, I'd like to see if we could purchase it. I don't know if that's an option, but yeah, it's basically going to be another secondary building for Public Works. And we are growing out of our building. We have no parking. That may change when the police officers take their cars home, but this could also be a staging area for any storm event that we may have. Also, we can do spoils there for filling in potholes and mulch for our parks. So there's many benefits to this area that I would like to see us
We
get.
just got to consider, like I
But we
said.
have to, yeah, about the R
Yeah.
residential zoning. is
Because I'm
probably
sure
gonna be a
some of you
problem.
would not like, if we had a building that was already there, and it's better than a water tower, I have to admit that. They took that down like several years ago. But if I was gonna put, that's why when he's talking about vehicles, I don't know if that's a good place to park vehicles.
Right.
I know we have it limited, but we gotta consider the residents around there. It's in the middle of the single residential zone.
Right, and you don't want vehicles starting at 7 in the morning.
Like where it's not just a chain link, but it's actually like
A wall.
privacy wood fence then.
There's a wall actually on most of it around the back, but
Yeah, but I'm saying on the front side.
the front it's got a metal fence.
Right, like chain link. Yeah, so
chain
just
link.
meaning like, I would think that the neighbors wouldn't mind if it's private, so you can't see things, right?
Right,
No, I disagree. I mean, have we reached out to the neighbors? What are we gonna do with the property? Have we reached out to the neighbors and say, hey, here's a proposal? Is there any, we just went through a whole thing with the land use thing, and now we're proposing, what are we gonna do with this? Are we gonna have trucks
It's
in
a
there?
landing site.
It's not to store equipment, but it's for, like, when my guys go there to park their vehicles, their personal vehicles. So that's what their vehicles will be there for. There'll be also a building for them to use.
I mean, it sounds great, Joe.
Right,
I'm not
right.
trying to, but I walk by there every day. It's an empty lot.
Yeah.
So it's gonna impact the neighborhood,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
So
Well, we need to start looking elsewhere then.
I agree. I'm not trying to
Thank you.
kill this idea. I'm just saying, we need to, if we're gonna be concerned about land uses everywhere else in this town, the government just can't come in there and say, hey, we're gonna do this here without contacting neighbors and see if that's gonna cause a hardship. Because I can tell you that it's gonna look different in that neighborhood with vehicles parked in that lot,
Yeah.
period.
This is the first time out with vehicles, Joe. You have never said that before, and I
Well,
would
when I'm
disagree.
saying vehicles, I'm talking about the personal vehicles that they're
Yeah, you never
driving.
said that, but
It doesn't, it doesn't matter what vehicles, it's gonna completely change the neighborhood if we put something in there.
I strongly disagree. I'm all for it, Joe, because if you have a privacy fence there and the vehicle parks up there, you're not gonna see it. You're not gonna see it. If
How
you use
about-
it as a landing.
You're gonna hear it?
As a landing strip for like mulch or like,
How about this?
whatever you may have.
Do you want this in your
the
backyard,
neighbors
Brett?
aren't
John.
gonna- Dude, I've got crazy neighborhoods, everybody. Let's
Right.
remember, you're not entitled to perfectly complete quiet or people who aren't annoying, okay? So. it's
I'm
not
just
gonna-
saying, we just went through a whole process with these
Remember,
citizens.
the city of Melbourne could do this right now, and the neighbors, they bought next to it. Okay?
Right.
It's already publicly owned land. The city of Melbourne could use it as a landing site. They know where they purchased.
So-
I don't see.
So this is my suggestion. The motion is to enter into an agreement. We can set the guidelines later.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, so, this is negotiated terms of the.
The agreement
for
would
the
be
land
brought
lease.
back to you
Hold on a
before
second,
anything
Mike.
was done.
And then it would be incumbent upon council and town manager to determine what is the appropriate use and how that gets going forward. Don't disagree, the perspective, but what's in front of us is the opportunity to negotiate for the use of that piece of property to be determined. Yes.
Right. And if no agreement amongst us and staff can come about, then we can always,
The only
Back
thing
out
I
of
would add is, not that we anticipate it, but if we do go into 50, if we do decide to go into 50-year lease at $12 a month, if 5 years from now we decide it's not working out, do we have a termination clause?
well, we've heard from three of you. Carrie?
Is our ability to purchase it even an option?
It was valued at a fair amount, right?
I don't know. That's a number I can approach if they're interested in selling it, too.
I thought, Joe, at
They
some point
said
you
it was,
mentioned.
we'd have to be whatever the fair market value is. They can't just sell it for $1.
Right, so probably a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
It's not.
Which is a lot of $12 a month.
Exactly. Especially with inflation, if you you lock in $12 a month for
Yeah.
50
Make
years.
$12 a month payments?
Yeah,
On a 150-year lease?
yeah.
Or no, lease, sorry. Loan payments.
It was a joke.
Anything else? Public comment? All right, all those,
Make a motion.
is there not a motion?
No, we didn't make a motion.
Oh, all right, is there a motion?
Did we make a motion?
John second.
Move to authorize staff to negotiate with the city of Melbourne to lease this property.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving that, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, unanimous. Kristen, anything to report?
Nothing to report, but I just want to say on behalf of the firm, I did share the information about the dedication of town hall for Paul, and I got a lot of very heartwarming responses from a lot of the attorneys who had worked with Paul over the years. As you know, we're tucked a little bit remote from the firm itself, but there were many attorneys who wanted me to send their thanks and appreciation for the town doing that it does mean a lot. And I will be sending pictures and video back from tonight. So thank you.
Cool.
Introduce Matt.
Sure, yes.
Come on up, Matt.
And I know I've introduced you to Mr. Remenda and prior to starting tonight, but this is Matt Remenda, a partner with the firm, and for the members who don't know him and anybody watching online, he will be working in conjunction with myself moving forward in order to assist the town in all the legal matters.
Yep.
So,
Yep, Matt Remenda. I think I met everyone beforehand briefly. And I've been, just so you know, just a little background on me, I had a Zoom with Mike and Molly a few weeks ago, and I just introduced myself. I've been with the firm for 10 years. I worked a little bit with Paul. I've been practicing for 21 years, which is surprising to me, too. I can't believe it. But, you know, I've worked with a lot of municipalities in Broward and Palm Beach and up in Martin County, and I look forward to working with everyone here. So, thank you.
Cool, thank you, welcome. Mike, anything to report?
Real quick, Cliff has something he wanted to mention.
I would like to move forward if we can with the pool fence height that we discussed in the code changes from 6 to 4 feet to mirror the state statute and the Florida Building Code language. If we could reword that and change that. And we do have another pool variance coming up. And there was discussion about changing the setback for pools from the property lines. I'd like to at least get the fence done now, and then maybe some further discussion on the pool, because I think they're applying for 3 feet?
They are applying for 4.11 feet, or 4 feet 11 inches, resulting in a 5-foot 1-inch setback.
And then they're getting a 2-foot setback for the cage and the deck.
Yeah.
So, because that changes as well from the requirements. So I don't know, the pool may take a little discussion, but I'd like to move forward with that if we could.
We can have that done next month?
Just give it, yeah, if you can consent, we'll just move forward with it.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Consistent with what the county has.
Okay, done.
Well, yeah, add the setback to it as well, not just the fence height, because I think we kind of came to a consensus at that meeting to do what, I think both Melbourne Beach and the county are the same, and we're like, just let's
It's
go in line
5
with
feet in the county, right?
Correct.
it. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And then we could go.
And it's 5 feet in Melbourne Beach, too.
5 feet with the property lines, and instead of 4 feet on the cages, it'd be 2 feet, because that would leave 3 feet around the edge of the pool, which is decent for an area rescue too, if there's a cage.
But then, and then also with the height for the pool fence, right?
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's a screen, so it's not like it's a structure you're looking at closer to the property line, so.
All right.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the only thing I really had is mention, remember, we have the push-in coming up on Friday? So, at 4 o'clock for the fire truck. And you really don't have to push, you can just hold there, it really has an engine. Because that goes way, way back in history of the fire departments where they,
Yeah.
back when they had the
We're
horse
gonna
drawn
rope, we're gonna have to
ones.
like see who can pull the fire truck in individually, right?
Yeah.
I
We
heard
gotta
they
pay
were going to
workers' comp
christen it
claims.
with Fireball instead of champagne.
That's funny.
Just a rumor.
That's all I have.
No pressure, chief.
And I plan to be there, but I may have to leave Friday night to go out of town Saturday, but we'll see. Doug, anything to report?
The only other thing to report is I am running for reelection, so just wanted to make that a public announcement. So.
All right, good to have you. Brett?
Nothing.
John?
I was just curious how much that pickleball net cost. I forgot to ask earlier. I just want to be that on record. Roughly, Joe. Is it over $300?
Pickleball net, I think it was $75.
Now,
Over 300 be a felony. I'm just saying. Whoever did that.
Yeah, that was bad.
Shame on them.
There was some other damage to it. The handle was broken, and someone tried to take a sawzall to cut it. So it may be over $300.
There you go. So the suspect list should be short. It should be every person that came up here and spoke against the pickle. I'm dead serious. This was a targeted type vandalism. It wasn't kids down there spray painting. It was one of those people that spoke at the meeting, that knows about it, is responsible for it, or fostered that type of behavior. That's all I'm going to say. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Carrie?
let me add real quick on that subject about the pickleball nets. I've already met with the police chief, and we're talking about putting similar cameras that y'all approved in Orlando Park. So that'll become before you all and everything else. We're working into the next year's budget.
Carrie?
Good. We did not have a South Beaches Coalition meeting in the month of June, nor did we have a Space Coast TPO. We had a scheduled meeting for the South Beaches Coalition yesterday. A council member from Melbourne Beach and myself were there. We did not have enough for quorum, so we did not have a meeting. We had one unable to attend and one no-show. So I will be attending the TPO meeting tomorrow at 1:30, along with my co-host here. And I also wanted to do a shout out to Public Works. They started responding in real time on social media about when things are back up and running, like the big
The swing, yep.
at Riverside Park. And I just wanted to say, well done. And you guys do a great job of getting things repaired. I know things are back ordered, and I'm really hopeful that that section of Boardwalk between 1 and 2 is going to be repaired sometime soon, because that disrupts my daily walk. So, but good job. You're doing a great job. And I think there might be something about our salaries.
Yes, if you plan to donate your salary for the 25-26 fiscal year, if you could say it on the record so we could plan the budget accordingly.
Carrie?
I'm going to donate my entire salary to the police department this year.
John?
I'll do the same thing Carrie's doing to the police department.
Brett?
I've already donated this salary, and unfortunately I'm moving
Oh, right.
to the Wild West, so
What you say on record?
I have nothing to.
I will donate my salary as well to the to the budget to be spent as the to the budget as the town sees fit.
And I will donate mine to Public Works. You can get your air conditioner, Joe. Yeah. All right, meeting adjourned.
Good job.